Republicans accusing President Biden of trying to control Americans with fear and mandates as COVID cases rise. And left-wing Democrats are accusing Senator Joe Manchin of betraying their agenda this week.
Well, guess what? I'm from West Virginia. I'm not from where they're from, and they can just beat the living crap out of people and think they'll be submissive.
Well, let's debate the political topics making headlines with tonight's Dream Team. Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall and Fox News political analyst Gianno Caldwell. Welcome back. Great to see you both.
Thank you.
Hi, Shannon.
Okay, so here is what the president said today on the odds of working something out with Senator Manchin on Build Back Better.
Some people think maybe I'm not Irish because I don't hold a grudge. Look, I want to get things done. I still think there's a possibility of getting Build Back Better done.
I'm Irish too, and I also do not hold grudges. But I'm also not negotiating with a bunch of senators on Capitol Hill. Gianno, he says they may get something done. Do you think in 2022 this comes back to life?
Well, in Washington, D.C., we never know what can happen. But what we can say, though, is Build Back Better is not a popular piece of legislation. Polling, NPR poll, as a matter of fact, put it at a 41% approval rating, 42% approval rating, just like Joe Biden approval rating, 36% of independents approve, and 13% of Republicans. This is a piece of legislation that Joe Manchin might have actually saved the Democrats from. They should focus on issues, like he said, that are particularly popular with the American people and that they can reasonably agree on. This legislation, I have a hard time believing the Democrats, if they really knew what was going on there, would be fully supportive of it. Who gives billions of dollars to government agencies that go through individuals' taxes? Who would want to support something like that? So this is an issue I think that they'll be dealing with in the new year to try to get at least some smaller bills done so they can say that they accomplished something for the midterms.
Well, when we look at people, we have a lot of new Fox Business polls out too, and people feel like last year has not been a good one for them and their families. They lay a lot of the blame at the White House when it comes to things like inflation. And it's important for voters and for people looking forward, how they feel about things. This Fox Business poll says, are you hopeful for the country's future? It's upside down right now with Democrats in charge. Yes, 43%, no, 54%. And Leslie, you know that's dangerous going into an election year.
It is, and even though I'm a pessimist, it's pretty sad that Americans don't realize how great our country is, the freedoms that we have. Despite the pandemic, despite some financial issues or gas prices, which will go down, inflation, which is temporary, if you don't like the word transitory, and, at the end of the day, you cannot be in a better country than this. Everything will get better. Certainly no politician, president, Democrat or Republican, can predict what this virus is going to do. Scientists and medical professionals can't predict it. That's why it continues to be fluid. But I just want to jump in real quick on something Gianno said. Except for this one poll at 42%, as you said, with Build Back Better, all the other polls show more than 60% support Build Back Better, as they did infrastructure. I do believe Joe Biden will get that done. If you remember, Joe Manchin pretty much was a poo-poo naysayer on infrastructure as well. And I wouldn't say that child care affordability and accessibility, lower prescription drug prices, family leave and things like that are just good for Democrats or bad for the American people. They're good for all, even the people of West Virginia.
The child tax credit
show the people of West Virginia
and
liking it
I think
as
that there are certain things that when you pull out from these various packages, people do like them and agree on things and think that there are things that cut across party lines. But there's a lot of other stuff in there that when you tell them about it or how they're going to pay for it and who's going to get taxed and everything else, that's when the resistance to it starts to bubble up. And people, and like Gianno said, maybe Democrats in some way, and some of them, because it's not just Joe Manchin, and there are those who hid behind him also, and we're kind of happy they didn't have to take a vote on this. I think at least that's the scuttlebutt here in Washington. Okay, I want to ask you guys too about the president talking about COVID today. He rolled out a number of things. Here's what Congressman Dan Crenshaw, a Republican, said. In a tweet today, says Trump handed Biden multiple vaccines and a vaccination plan, and Biden is doing worse than Trump on the 2 COVID metrics the media told us were the most important, cases and deaths. Biden has introduced 0 new treatments, better testing, nothing. Think about that. Give you both a final a bite at that apple at the COVID policy. Gianno, to you, and we'll let Leslie close us out.
Okay, very good. And just to pick up on something Leslie said about Americans being pessimistic and having freedoms, we're actually losing our freedoms every day in this country. If you look at Chicago, for an example, you cannot go to a restaurant now without a COVID passport. So we're losing freedoms. That's why Americans are pessimistic about what's going on. And truth be told, Joe Biden said us in the tweet that he was going to shut down the virus. We've not seen any evidence of that. And that's another reason why politicians shouldn't be making these wild claims running for office, thinking that they're going to eliminate things that they're obviously and clearly not. We do need to see some progress on that front. We need to see something new from Joe Biden, which we haven't. So I agree with Dan Crenshaw fully.
All right, Leslie, close us out.
Well, I'm not surprised that Dan Crenshaw, a Republican, would criticize the president. Look, we don't have as many people dying. Here in the state where I live in California, lockdowns, mandates, social distancing, masks, keeping kids out of school for a while, that was all working very well. So I don't think that gives away freedoms at all. I think it benefits the greater good in this country and worldwide.
Well, as you know, critics would say if those things worked, maybe we'd already be done with this. But listen, we'll see, because we learn new things every single day.
I disagree with Leslie holistically. Thank you,
I'm sure
Leslie,
you do. But we all want a happy ending to this thing, and the sooner the better. Leslie and Gianno, Merry Christmas, and thank you both.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
From London.
And Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year.